And what do you have? 2 rushing TDs. So, interesting kind of, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but you cover Oregon State every day during camp. This was a surprise to you.
It was a little surprising. Well,
I think.
No.
Because I thought sources were saying other things. I thought we were seeing sources on Twitter from Brenden, guys entrenched in Oregon State athletics for decades. I thought, there's sources. What happened to those sources? Entrenched.
Your boy got scooped too. So in all fairness.
Yeah,
but you're right.
I'm
right.
just saying.
It surprised a lot of folk.
There was some veteran Oregon State reporters out there going, what my sources are nobody had this guy. I love it. Sources are the best.
Sports ball, right?
Sports ball, am I right? We are going to talk, we'll talk some more Oregon State. We're going to talk some stadiums. We're going to talk, what makes a tough place to play? Oregon's going into the Big Ten. Everybody's saying they're not prepared for maybe some of these Big Ten stadiums. We're going to talk about what makes a tough place to play. And that's coming up next on 620 Rip City Radio. Obviously, the big story in week 0 was Florida State losing. Not sure who they're going to blame this time. Blame a committee, maybe blame the ACC, maybe blame the country of Ireland. I'm not sure. But
Maybe DJ?
maybe. Oh, they're going to turn on him so fast. Oh, those Florida State fans are who? I wonder who their backup is. Let's find out who this backup is. Because if they've got some borderline 4 or 5-star freshman waiting in the wings in the spirit of Aiden Childs last year, they're going to be calling for that guy. They'll be calling for that guy by Clemson. They will be.
Last point on this, I know we're not going to circle back to it, Justin. Then we got to get into a pretty good topic here.
Yeah,
but one thing that kind of triggered me yesterday that I'm curious what your thoughts, and we just happened to bring it up there. When Oregon State announced Gevani McCoy as the starting quarterback yesterday, DJ...
Because, again, I thought, sources said Branson, it was a done deal, right?
It was, maybe...
Veteran reporters.
Your boy may have even been on a podcast saying, I'd be surprised if it wasn't Ben, but,
Yeah, but that's just you giving an opinion, right? Because I think people can tell the difference between reporting and just giving an opinion.
We did not say a sources say.
No, okay.
That being said, Justin, I'm just curious what your take would be on this. So the tweet was about Gevani McCoy being named starting quarterback. DJU's dad quote tweets
Big
that.
Dave Uyunglele, who is on Twitter and talks a lot.
And goes, go Beavs, with 6 Beaver emoticons. And I'm like, and I sat there and I was like, I don't feel like you your kid left, you were a Beaver fan for a year. I just want to be Savior, go Beavs.
It's a weird era that we're getting into in college football, and until they start doing some oversight with the transfer portal, it's weird to me too, because I am this is my team. Every other team, you can kick rocks because I root for my team kind of guy. Now, there are other teams that I like in college football, but if it came right down to it, to them versus Oregon. But, in a transfer portal era where these guys, are literally playing for 3 different teams, the players don't have the same kind of loyalty, or I want to say passion. And you might be saying, well, Justin, no, the players never did. That's not true. Go talk to players from the 2000s and talk about rivalry. Go talk to old Alabama players and what they feel about Auburn. Go talk to old Ohio State players from the 90s and the 2000s, heck, into the 2010s. See what they think about Michigan. The passion and loyalty was there for a long, and now when these guys and listen, it's not like Oregon's got Oregon State's kicker, right? They went right up 99 and took old Sappington.
Hey, man, Atticus is good, man.
Automaticus, baby, is what I understand.
One of the best names in college football,
and they just kind of, I don't know if they stole him, or if he made a decision. Who knows? He had options. Probably got a little NIL. Can't be having guys missing kicks against Washington this year. So go out and get a better kicker. But that's weird to me. It's weird that you would have just so casually you played for the Beavs, and now you play for the Ducks. I know it's happened before. What's his name? Running back. Went to Aloha.
Oh, Thomas Tyner?
Boom, Thomas Tyner.
What a name.
I know he played for both, and it was kind of a weird time. The Oregon fans were booing him, which I hated.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then there was there was a kid from my high school.
I do feel bad he had to end his college career with Gary Anderson. I was
It's tough.
I was
tough look.
I happened to be closer
at Autzen Stadium too.
Yeah, I happen to be closer to him than most, just based on I just so happened to get to know him quite well, and that was he could have come back for more years. Justin, that year was so hard. He's like, yeah. Time to do something different.
Yeah, he went to the woods.
Yeah.
He just walked around in the woods for years. I know because he was on my my Bridge podcast, and he was like, yeah, dude, I just walk around in the woods.
Yeah, he
almost got lost. Almost got lost in the woods one time.
I know he's been full hunter-gatherer now, man. He's all in, man, which is cool to see. I'm happy he found his passion, man.
Got that face camo. Looks so cool. Anyways, so yeah, there's a handful of guys that play for both, but it's defensive back that just came from Washington.
Bar Muhammad.
Thank you. Boy, I better figure
You
some. I
should
better
know
figure,
that, not me.
I should figure some names out before the season starts. I'll figure it out by week 3.
You know how I know, Justin? Because Jabbar Muhammad's like one of the best players in the video game. So that's kind of how I know. Like him and like
That's how you know all those basketball players, too, because you play
It's true.
2K, and it's like...
I know that Tez Johnson's probably the fastest dude in college football. Like
We're going to find out.
You know, so just, the
I knew
video
that
game
guy.
has taught me a lot.
But, yeah, Jabbar Muhammad, he played at Washington last year. But didn't he play? He came from, want to say, Auburn? Where'd he come from?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
So that's
So
3.
so he's played for 3 schools.
Nice.
And so, yeah, he probably is like, he could probably throw out a, hey, if UW gets a win, because he's got friends on that team. And it's like, it's just weird. It's a weird place to be in college football.
Do you say go Pokes, go Dogs, or go Ducks?
Exactly.
Like,
what do you say?
I don't know. It's like what you told me years ago. You're like, well, the Ducks only had Christian Gonzalez for 1 year.
Yeah,
but he's really good, so we should be able to claim it. Like, you know what I mean?
I never
Probably
said
your
they
best
should-
year, wherever your best year was, Justin.
Well, let's hope Muhammad's best year is this year. So, yeah, it's just, but it's weird because I'm sure there's a handful of guys that DJU still like is friends with at Oregon State, and he spent a year there, and it just the idea that you
There's a lot of changeover, but yes, there's probably.
but the idea that in college football where the passion is so high, right, where you have houses divided like my house, where you have friendships that are divided like Brenden and I, where you have it's the idea of somebody who left going like, oh yeah, go Beavs. Like, yeah, it was fun. I had my time there, treating it almost like an NFL stop. Like, yeah, I played that one season in Cincinnati, and then, but I'm always going to be a Steeler, and like that was a couple of players. It's like, whoa, it's just weird to see it in college football. Neither here nor there. This was, we ripped this off of the whiteboard from Rip City Drive. So for those that don't know, we come in here in the morning.
Heard their guests were pretty star-studded
their
yesterday.
guest list yesterday was, I've heard ratings gold. I don't know. I haven't seen the numbers yet.
We
but
broke the meter, dude.
The scuttlebutt around Rip City Drive yesterday was ratings gold, is what I am hearing. But for those that don't know, Brenden and I get in here in the morning, and on the big whiteboard in the producer room where he is, safely partitioned on the other side of the glass, that's why I say that, he's in a different room, we see the Rip City Drive, and I always go like, usually I'll listen to a couple of segments of their show, especially if I'm on it. But I was like, what did the guys talk about last night? And they had toughest places to play in college football. This is an article from Bruce Feldman. Bruce Feldman of The Athletic ranked the toughest places to play in college football. This was in response to Brendan's precious video game really jacking up their stadium rankings because they were kind of weird. So this is the list, and we're obviously going to spend a good chunk of time talking about Autzen Stadium, but I want to dive into this first. What makes a tough place to play? And the reason why I brought up week 0 is I noticed something in the game in Dublin that I don't know if people are prepared for yet. Mark my word, Brenden, this is going to be a thing. This is the first year in college football of the communication inside the helmet, right? Communication inside the helmet, first year, forever. You either had to run in your plays, you had to signal in your plays, or you had to do the placard thing, or a combination of all three. Well, now you can just talk directly, offensive coordinator, into the helmet of the quarterback. Quarterback can then relay it. I still think a ton of teams are going to go no huddle because that's just the way they have been doing it. But you can now get the signal to the quarterback. Quarterback can relay the signal to the offense. But in Dublin, I noticed the Georgia Tech quarterback, he kept having to cover the ear holes in his helmet. I know in the NFL, some places like Arrowhead, and I know in Seattle it gets pretty loud, and where you see the quarterbacks and they're having trouble with the in-helmet communication. There ain't nothing louder than college football games. Sustained just noise. And I'm wondering, are we going to see a situation in the season this year where a quarterback literally cannot hear the in-helmet communication? And do those coaches have backup plans? Now, maybe they do because they get paid a lot of money to have backup plans, but I wonder how many coaches are just like, yep, we got the in-helmet communication now. This is how we're going to call in plays. And then you get to LSU and you're like, we can't hear a thing. We can't hear a thing. We got to go on hand signals. But if you don't have the hand signals, that's going to be, I think, a fairly big deal. Because I noticed this Georgia Tech couldn't in Ireland, where it wasn't 50-50 fan bases. Obviously, there were more Florida State fans there, but it was far from a home game.
I mean,
Tech, you can't hear the thing. This is going to be a thing this year.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, like Tech, just a question, but Tech's pretty affluent too, Justin, right? Like you would think their fan base has some money to travel, right?
Yeah, but do they really care about football though?
No, like
because you got to be affluent and care about football.
Old power though, right?
Because like Vanderbilt's affluent, like Vanderbilt and Duke, like those might be the most affluent.
Tech was
alumni.
Pretty good when you were growing up, though, right? Like Tech is kind of an old traditional triple option power, right?
Yeah, before that they had Calvin Johnson, though. Calvin was, they had some good teams. Yeah, in the '90s they won I think they won a split national title back in the early '90s. Yeah, Georgia Tech had some dudes.
But like to that point, like I think the in-helmet communication is going to be. It's going to be fascinating because there's going to be some absolute.
You're going to be able to hear it.
Yeah, like unless like on the road at home. You think that's going to be a typical,
They do that. All of them have the screen. Do they do that? Like, hey, offense at work or whatever they do. They do that at Autzen, too. I always thought that was kind of corny. But
if it makes a difference, man.
But we talked to Aaron Fentress about this yesterday. I'm like, is this going to be maybe a potential rude awakening? Because let's be honest. In the Pac-12, there's Husky Stadium and there's Rice-Eccles. That's about it. In terms of intimidating, like places where if you are Oregon going to play, or even Oregon State for that matter, but if you are Oregon going to play where the crowd and the stadium is going to be a factor in the game, there were two in the conference outside of Autzen. It was Husky Stadium and it was Rice-Eccles. Every once in a while, Martin Stadium in Pullman. Every once in a while, obviously in a tough Civil War game there at Reister Stadium, it can get a little bit rowdy, but nothing compared to like when Husky Stadium gets going. So now Oregon's got a trip to the Big House, which Oregon's been to the Big House. From everything I have heard, and I've never been there, but is that Big House is a lot of people, not a lot of noise. It's never on these lists, like this top 10 list of toughest places to play. Big House, never on there. Because it's a big, wide open bowl. And the noise just goes up, as opposed to like Autzen Stadium that has half as many people, but the noise just gets right up on you. But they do have to go to Camp Randall this year. And that's going to be an interesting experience. So here's the list right now.
Beavers been there once. It was a pretty ugly game. Russell Wilson was that quarterback.
That was a tough game, yeah.
Tough place to play.
LSU, Tiger Stadium, number one on the list. Again, on the bucket list of places I want to go watch a game, especially at night. I watched a whole documentary on the history of night games in the SEC and really like what LSU did to turn their stadium into an actual home field advantage because they were playing the games at night. But LSU comes in ranked in at number one. Number two is Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, a lot of people will say Bryant-Denny Stadium is not a tough place to play from a crowd noise perspective. Bryant-Denny Stadium's tough to play because Alabama's good all the time. So you walk in, and it's kind of intimidating, probably because you're staring right at Alabama. Penn State, who I believe Oregon is playing next season in Beaver Stadium in Penn State, that's around 100,000 people, and you got the whiteout. You've got a ton of rabid fans. That comes in at number three. Ohio State's the Horseshoe is number four. Got Lane Stadium at number five, Virginia Tech. And even Bruce Feldman said, that's more of a what it used to be and what it could be. I used to work with a guy named George Schroeder, who's a very good college football writer. He's now a man of the cloth. He's a pastor leading a church. Good for him. But he was a very good college football writer. He would always tell me, he said, Florida, at its best, the loudest. The Swamp, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Neyland Stadium comes in at number 7. And there's old humble little Autzen Stadium. And there are 54,000 people coming in at number 8. And, Brenden, you asked me a question earlier today. If, let's just say, Phil Knight decided to go just completely wackadoo and says, we're rebuilding the stadium, or we are taking the stadium up to X amount of capacity, because there has been rumors circulating that now that you're a Big Ten school, can you still have a 54,000-seat stadium in the Big Ten? Because other than Northwestern, I'm pretty sure everyone else in the Big Ten is 70 and above. I mean, I know it's a joke because it's the bands are bigger, the stadiums are bigger. It's people go to these big, giant stadiums. Even like, we look up and see what Purdue's stadium holds. Like, Purdue's not a college football.
It's not as big as you think.
Oh, man. That goes my whole point.
But
where's it at, though?
60.
Still 6,000 more than Autzen Stadium. Purdue. You know what I mean? So
you got to go there this year.
We're on a Friday after Ohio State. Don't like that.
Probably not.
Don't like that at all. I hope Purdue stinks this year.
You sound like Michael Scott. Just, nope, don't like that.
I feel like Michael Scott. Like, wait a minute. You got to play Ohio State at Autzen, win, lose, or draw. And there's no draw, but win, lose, there's going to be clearly an emotional You got to go on a short week to Purdue?
Yeah, Friday. You guys got a lot of Friday games.
2 of them.
Yeah.
On short weeks. Both of them on short weeks. Now, the Michigan State game, that's at home, and I believe that's coming off of the UCLA game.
Those tickets affordable? A friend over here might be asking to know. I didn't realize that was a Friday, and now I'm intrigued.
I don't know. The only ticket price I've been caring about is that Ohio State one, because everybody keeps yelling at me, keeps telling me that I'm insane because I'm not going to sell my tickets. Anyways. If there was a number where Phil Knight was like, all right, we want to jack up. You could, as Oregon football is right now, you could take it up to 70. I think 75,000. And I think 80-some% of the games, I believe, you would sell out, as the Oregon football program is right now. But right now, you're living high on the hog. Right now, you are in the good old days. You're picked to win the national championship by a handful of people. Everybody wants to go. Like, massive secondary market for tickets because of the limited amount of seats for that Ohio State game. But I was also in that stadium in 2016, which was not that long ago. I was there in 2016. It was not exactly library quiet, but it felt like it was kind of a chore. Like, oh, let's get loud. It's like, why? They're just going to give up another first down. So I've heard rumors and rumblings that Oregon is in active plans to revamp the north side of Autzen Stadium. I think the number is 70. I think maybe even 75, because on a good day, 54,000 seats in Autzen, but with standing room only. I believe they've squeezed 62,000 in there, and it's a tight fit.
Yeah, let's see the record.
I want to say USC 2011 is the record.
You mean LeBron?
The LeBron game, yes. When LeBron
cursed
cursed Oregon by standing on the sidelines, and they lost that game. I want to say that's the record. But I could be wrong. What?
Yeah.
Nope.
Great. Same year. I'm going to give you a chance to guess. Same year. It was 60,055.
Okay, so I added 2,000 people that didn't exist. Is it Stanford? The Stanford game?
Arizona State. 2011. Highest attendance at Autzen was October 15th, 2011, when Oregon beat
Arizona State
41-27.
Right.
It was actually the Second largest sporting event crowd in the state of Oregon, Justin.
Boom.
Only bested by an IndyCar event.
Yeah, that PIR holds a lot of people. All right, we have got on campus some more college football news and notes next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are 4 days away. 4 days away from college football kicking off in the beautiful Willamette Valley, and I'm going to start hydrating right now because while it's a little gloomy out there today, it is going to be hot. It's going to be hot on Saturday. It's going to be hot at Autzen Stadium. It's going to be hot at Reeser Stadium. There's going to be some we talked about and we joke about how I-5 South, with both games kicking off an hour apart on opening Saturday, on Labor Day weekend in 90-degree heat. Brenden, there's going to be some road rage. There is going to be some. Get out early.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
I am packing up and getting out early Saturday morning, because there's going to be some tension, I think, on the old freeway. I think there's going to be some tension on the I-5 corridor. Speaking of that, we're going to talk to Tyson.
Then again, I'm like the most aggressive driver you know, so I'm not worried about it.
I don't know if I could ride with you. Can I be
Probably
perfectly
not.
honest? I don't, because you know this about me. I do not do well not being in control. I wouldn't say control freak. I would say I'm a control enthusiast. I do not like not being behind the steering wheel or not driving whatever the certain situation is. It's not my thing. So I don't know if I could ride shotgun with you, and if you're driving like a madman.
I don't. Traffic annoys me.
All right,
That's kind of as simple as that is. So yeah, I'm going to probably take the back way on Saturday.
that would be smart. I'm definitely getting out early, but it's gonna be warm, and the entire state of Idaho is going to be facing off against I guess not Boise, not quite yet. Isn't it amazing that in a time in which the state of Idaho has tried to steal part of the great state of Oregon, including our Crater Lake, which you're not getting, Idaho, sorry, but when Idaho is trying to steal part of the great state of Oregon, the Beavs and the Ducks both playing Idaho State, and both teams playing Boise.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't
Can we
it?
go 4-0 and just shut those potato-eating Idahoans up? Can we go 4-0 and just like, yeah, come get our Crater Lake, Idaho. Try again.
They should honestly brand it that way, Justin, because I
Kick
know
the potato right out of them.
Well, no, I just think they should brand it as two states that don't like each other very much. And from what I've been able to see, like, maybe if you don't like living in Oregon, you've moved to Idaho, and maybe vice versa the last few years.
Yeah,
Just
well,
observation.
Yeah, hopefully they go 0-4, okay? Hopefully
there
they
might
go
be
0-4.
State superiority, Justin.
All right,
You might need to band together with all your coasties that you can't stand to fend off Idaho, man. You and Bill Orm got to go arm in arm, Tillamook and Umpqua to beat off Idaho.
I don't know if I would call him a coastie. He's not quite on the water yet, but maybe.
Not quite on the water. I love it.
But the Coos Bay people and the Bandon people and the Florence people, you know who you are. And Reedsport. Anyways, those are all high school rivalries. This is why I do this.
Reedsport's the best pull out of that.
Just glory days. I could go to Gold Beach and Brookings even. We can go all the way down there. All right. That's not what I wanted to do right now, but I just got fired up for the football season. A season unlike any other. The Big Ten has 18 teams. That's a lot of teams. There's no divisions. How are they going to figure out who's going to the championship game if maybe there's a couple of teams that are tied? Well, we have tiebreakers, and a couple of them are very interesting. Let's go on campus. All right, it used to be fairly simple with these championship games, but now with so much on the line, these conferences cannot afford to have divisions anymore. Why is that, Justin? Because there is an automatic qualifier for the conference champion. The 4 highest-rated conference champions will get an automatic qualifier and a first-round bye. And we've not quite seen the big monumental upset, but we've seen close calls where 4-loss, I think North Carolina nearly beat Florida State in the ACC title game. That would have given we've seen a 6-loss UCLA Bruin team play in the Pac-12 title game. If they were to have won that game in this scenario, not only would they get an automatic berth, but they would get a first-round bye. So now these conferences got smart, and by the way, it was the Pac-12 who started this, even though the Pac-12 is kaput.
It
Like,
still
how about we
exists,
just-
Justin.
How about we just put our two best teams there? How
the,
about we
sh-
just?
the Shield logo is still going to be
I
on
know.
Martin and Reese. I'm just kidding, but yes,
It's
yeah,
still there.
It
But it's
is.
like, how about we put our two best teams out there? Because, there was the one year where the kick six season, right, where Alabama lost to Auburn. It's like, Alabama had one loss. We still get to go to the – no, you don't. Auburn gets to go, and they get to go play – I think they played South Carolina. Anyways, so here we go. Tiebreakers in the Big Ten, because now that you don't have divisions, we got to figure some things out. 18 teams. You only have a 9-game conference schedule. Guess what? There's 8 teams you're not going to play. So, first tiebreaker, pretty simple. Teams will be compared based on head-to-head matchups. So, Oregon, Ohio State at Autzen, October 12th, might be a pretty important game. Then teams will be compared based on record against all common conference opponents. Then, this is the third tiebreaker. The tied teams will be compared based on their record against common opponents with the best conference record and proceeding through the common conference opponents based on their order of finish within the conference. This is where it gets really fun. If we're still tied after 4 tiebreakers from head-to-head, common opponents, winning percentage of opponents, which all of those things can happen, the representative will be chosen based on the highest ranking by Sports Source Analyst. Sports Source Analytics, a ratings metric, essentially like what college football does with the net ratings, computer draw. If that comes out dead even, which could potentially happen, Brenden, you want to know what the 6th tiebreaker is in the Big Ten?
Coin flip?
Pretty close, random draw.
Oh, well.
They can't really say coin flip, but it is. It's a random draw. The representative will be chosen by a random draw among tied teams, conducted by the commissioner. So, like, if there's like one clear and away champion, and then 2, 3, and 4 are all muddled up there, which could happen because there's not going to be 18 teams. Like I said, 8 teams you're not going to play. It might come down to a random draw, which, I mean, I think that's going to be big-time television. Could you imagine Big Ten Network with the random draw to get into the game, into Indy? All right, so there you go. There's your Big Ten tiebreakers all the way down to the random draw. We have got more Rip City Mornings coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brenden Slaughter with you here. Idaho transfer Gevani McCoy beats out Ben Gulbranson and Jabari Johnson for Oregon State's starting quarterback job against Idaho State this weekend. Over in the NFL, Cowboys' CeeDee Lamb agrees to a 4-year, $136 million deal to become the second highest paid non-quarterback, only behind Justin Jefferson. And former Michigan staffer Connor Stallion says via Netflix doc he never participated in any in-person scouting for the Wolverines. Yeah, right. Coming up on the big show, we've got a whole lot more, including Devon Pouncey in the third hour. You've got Rip City Mornings, hour 2, coming up.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. We've got Make or Miss coming up in about 20 minutes. We have got, what are we doing? Stuff we saw on the internet? Nope, it is Tuesday, Grumpy Old Man. That's right.
You're supposed to be grumpy, Justin.
I'll find it. Don't worry about it.
You might be grumpy.
I got a little bit out yesterday because of
True.
being stuck in a hallway for 90 minutes.
Grumpy about keypads.
Was not happy about keypads. Ready to kick in a door yesterday. Didn't do it. Better for it, but I'll find it. Don't worry about it. So that's going to be coming up in about 45 minutes. And as Brenden just told you in the update, Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us in the third hour. We talk about the butterfly effect. And butterfly effect, that's one of those things, much like the bucket list. It's become a part of our vocabulary based off of a movie that really nobody saw. Did you ever see that movie, The Bucket List? With Morgan Freeman and Jack?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of people did, though. But a lot of people love to talk about their bucket list. But I did watch the movie.
Yeah, probably one time. I couldn't tell you a whole. But, oh, yeah, I definitely remember watching it being like, oh, yeah, bucket list.
Spoiler alert, it's sad at the end.
It's very sad. Very sad.
Which you kind of knew going in.
Yeah. I mean, two old guys, bucket list, 1 + 1 = 2.
But I don't know if you were to ask many people, you go, hey, because they always say, what's a bucket list item for you? If people would understand that is the name of a movie about two guys dying of cancer who are going around the world creating their stuff to do before you kick the bucket. And same thing with butterfly effect. Now, I believe butterfly effect was a theory that was already in place before the bad Ashton Kutcher movie. But there was a bad Ashton Kutcher movie called Butterfly Effect. And the theory has always been if a butterfly flaps its wings and stirs up pollen with the flapping of its wings and that pollen creates a flower. Maybe that flower, some very important person is allergic to. They sneeze, miss an opportunity. And the flapping of a butterfly's wings can affect the entire outcome of the future. We also dealt with this in Back to the Future, too, where you skewed into a different tangent, where you went into Biff's world, where he got the almanac. There's some holes in that plot as well. We're not going to dive into that. But let's live in a Back to the Future 2 kind of world. Let's skew into a different tangent. Let's pretend in Major League Baseball, which right now is having 2 historic seasons going on in front of our eyes, yet ESPN has been talking about Colorado banning a Denver Post reporter for the last 2 days. There is a historic season going on, and I'm not saying they're wrong for this. I'm just not a criticism, simply an observation as to where we are with Major League Baseball in our lives. Let's skew into a different tangent where somehow, some way, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa never hit more than 60 home runs in a season. Maybe injuries. Maybe, butterfly effect. Somehow, some way, those 3 guys who hold the 6 spots of highest home runs in a season. Bonds with his 73 in 2001. McGwire with his 70 back in 1998, which before steroids came into it, the summer of 1998. Boy, that was a summer. Brenden, you want to talk about a sports summer? Michael Jordan just put up the shot against Brian Russell and the Utah Jazz. That's how the summer started, and then it ended with a home run race with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. It was a glorious time.
Do you know what I was doing?
crawling?
Walking.
Two,
I was
you're
going to
walking.
say, I was learning to walk.
You learning to walk. There you go.
Quality time in 98. But yeah, no, absolutely. It must have been
It was so awesome.
But at the same token.
And then steroids came around and ruined it.
I was at the same token, though, you were approaching what I like to call NBA purgatory after.
Yeah, it was almost too good. It was almost sports Icarus flew a little too close to the sun.
Nice.
And baseball would go into a steroid era and then a steroid scandal. Basketball would go into a post-Jordan depression and then a lockout into the season after that. So also, by the way, those are two big reasons why football, along with fantasy football becoming easier to access through the internet, but football really took off around that time. I wonder why. Steroid scandal, NBA lockout, neither of which recovered all that well from. And by the way, Major League Baseball was still 4 years off of missing the World Series due to a work stoppage. But let's just live in a world where Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds somehow, some way, don't break the home run record. And the Roger Maris 1961 number lasted for another 25 years. Aaron Judge hit that 62 home runs last year. We were cutting into it in college football. And on Twitter, I think it was still called Twitter back then, we were openly mocking sports networks, going like, why are we watching Aaron Judge regular season at bats on a Saturday in which college football was going on? Conversely, in 1998, people would be freaking out if ESPN was not playing Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa at bats, regardless of what was going on in the fall. NFL regular season game and overtime, don't care. Give me the Mark McGwire at bat. Well, now this year we've got Aaron Judge, who has got 51 home runs, and it's not September yet. Shohei Ohtani is now in the 40 home runs, 40 stolen base club. And by the way, he was still a Cy Young caliber pitcher last year. You have two gigantic international superstars in Major League Baseball, and very few people seem to care. And that's not just me based on my preference. I love baseball. I played baseball my whole life. I was a baseball player in college. That's not me talking about this show. It's me looking up and like the Dallas Cowboys are the biggest story going on ESPN right now. You go to ESPN's website, Connor Stalions documentary, Packers getting a backup quarterback, CeeDee Lamb getting $136 million. Ooh, boys. Is CeeDee Lamb worth $136 million?
He's so good. He is so good.
Is it better than Tyreek Hill?
He's younger. So
better than Jamar Chase?
That's about what Jamar Chase will
Devontae
get.
Adams?
Yes, much younger.
Not Justin Jefferson, though.
Nope, he's still.
But
he's
Dak,
in that mix.
But Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold.
Yes.
So I think he will get a whole lot more yards. All right, see, I'm getting distracted again. Would we be caring about baseball if the steroid thing never blew up in 2001 with
Maybe
Barry Bonds?
More.
And then we retroactively looked back at 1998 with a very different lens. At the time, it was out of sight, out of mind because it was two good guys that we liked. It's McGwire and it's Sosa. And it's the boys of summer, and they're breaking Roger Maris's record. And there's Roger Maris's family right there going like, we love you guys. What a great summer for baseball. 3 years later, Barry Bonds would hit 73 home runs, and everybody would be like, dude, you are on steroids. Yeah, but what about the other two guys that look just like me with big giant heads? You didn't care about any of them. It's like, yeah, but they're nice guys. You're a jerk. We don't like you. And you're on steroids. I just wonder, would this be a much bigger deal? Because I very much remember, funny enough, it was a guy in Jose Canseco who was on steroids in the 80s. When Jose Canseco was broke the 40-40 mark, huge news. Huge news. I want to say it was 89. When Alex Rodriguez got the 40-40, another steroid guy, huge news. Shohei Ohtani's got 40-40 right now. I think only 3 players have ever been in the 40-40, or excuse me, 4. Canseco, Bonds, A-Rod, and one other. I can't think of his name. Played for the Yankees. And he played for the Rangers, too. Fonso Soriano. Boom. I think there's only 4 guys that have ever been in the 40-40 club. Well, now add Shohei Ohtani to that list. And he's got an entire month to hit 10 more home runs and steal 10 more bases to get to 50-50, which no one has ever done. Zero, zilch, nada. So we have 2 historic seasons going on right now. And Jerry Jones saying, I'm not bleeping leaving, is the lead story going on. Boy, steroids really ruined that whole baseball thing, didn't it? Just like the love affair that we had with statistics and the numbers and the history, because it was always one of those things that the stats in baseball linked the past to the present and potentially into the future. The stats in football are nowhere close, and the stats in basketball are nowhere close. 3-point lines, no 3-point line. There's a key. There's a there's an emphasis on a shot clock. Football, right? The protection for quarterbacks, the invention of the forward pass. Like, stats are not comparable from era to era, but we've always kind of been able to do that in the past with baseball, except for this one little bloop, steroid era, boom, when everybody was using them. And it's just interesting to me that because of that, and maybe work stoppages, maybe some, I think, bad overall leadership of baseball over the years, in particular the way that they handled the steroid era.
I mean, it's true. I mean, well, and even since, like, you just look like they went from Bud Selig to Rob Manfred, or either one of those commissioners looked as just they're probably, let's rank them, right? They're not, they're the bottom of their respective tiers. Like, as far as like Roger Goodell has been more impactful and is more universally beloved.
Is Roger Goodell beloved, or is it almost like begrudging respect?
Oh, sure. But regardless, that Rob Manfred doesn't have that.
No,
it's gotten better with the pitch clock in baseball getting
pitch clock has made it so much better.
Yes, they've made strides. Like, Justin, 4 or 5 years ago compared to now. Oh man!
But I still think there was so much of a steroid backlash. Which, by the way, we all don't want to admit that it was also kind of awesome watching all those home runs. But there was such a steroid backlash. I mean, the fact that Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds aren't in the Hall of Fame is absurd. Absolutely absurd. But there is such a steroid backlash that now we get a historic season, clearly of 2 guys that, I mean, if they're not clean, tip of the cap to their doctors, but I'm fairly certain are playing clean baseball. And it's like, meh, sure. It was the biggest thing 20 years ago. The biggest thing in sports 20 years ago. Boy, one scandal, bad leadership, couple of bad steps, and all of a sudden, man, you are in 3rd place. Getting overshadowed by Jerry Jones saying the F word. That's what's overshadowing you right now. All right, you know what else is going to overshadow you? Make or miss, because that's coming up next on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in hour number 3. Excited to talk to our good friend Devon Pouncey. He's going to be joining us for the entire third hour live in studio. You will all get off my lawn coming up in about 25 minutes. I promise I'm done complaining about the door thing yesterday, though. Got that out of my system. But I'll find something else to complain about, I'm sure. So that's going to be coming up in approximately 25 minutes. Right now, though, let's get to Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up Make or Miss today. Justin.
Yes.
Cooper Flagg should no longer be considered for the top overall recruit if you choose New Balance as your shoes.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's do it. Now we're in my wheelhouse. All right.
That being said, I don't have any hate or shame towards New Balance. I just look at it, I go, top number 1 pick signs with New Balance. It's kind of like signing with Puma.
Can honestly say I've never owned a pair of New Balances ever in my life. I'm sure
they're fine shoes, I'm sure.
Fine shoes.
Get your feet from point A to point B, Justin.
Now, okay, I've heard two arguments, believe it or not, about this because I'm a shoe nerd and shoe Twitter, it's a thing. There's so many little subsets of Twitter, X. Shoe Twitter is a thing. I don't know why you wouldn't go with Nike if you were a top-level basketball player. That being said, I am a Nike stan. I only wear Nikes. It's from Air Jordans to the Air Force Ones that I have on my feet right now. It's just the only shoes that I wear. Not a fan of other sneakers. You do you. So I don't understand if you could have any of the options. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to go with the shoe company of Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? And throw in Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson in there as well. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go with the same company that has a building named after Michael Jordan. And I think there's a Kobe building out there, or there's a wing or something. Anyways, why you wouldn't want to go with the company of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. That being said, the other argument is, boy, if you went back to 1983 or 1984, excuse me, and the movie Air that we've both watched, and
such a great film,
and or have seen any of the documentaries or read the books or any of the stuff about Jordan, and
I probably watched it 3-4 times.
Like
now.
Nike was kind of the New Balance of 1984. Could Cooper Flagg be? No, he's not going to be the next Michael Jordan because there never will be. But could he be a guy that makes New Balances cool? Kid, like you have younger siblings. Like New Balance is kind of a kid thing, right? Because I know like Kawhi, he wears New Balances. There's what's her name? Haley Van Lith. She's on us. I see her on those commercials. Is it Coco Gauff? I think Coco Gauff, the tennis player.
The fact they already have Cooper Flagg shoes available on the New Balance website.
All right, now, here's another thing.
Zach LaVine.
Nah.
Dude, Tyrese Maxey's a nice pull.
Okay.
That's going to age really well.
Remind me, myself.
Cameron Brink. Shout out to Portland's own,
There
man.
we go. Is Beaverton?
So
She's from Beaverton?
How are you? Okay, that's a problem. Nike, how do you let Cameron Brink, who's in your own backyard, as maybe the best women's basketball player we've had from this state?
I understand.
That's surprising to me.
Well,
very surprising.
Okay. Do we count Sabrina?
I'm talking born and raised.
Talk about born and raised
for this argument, but no, not glossing
I was
over
going to say
Sabrina.
they got a shoe about
but hey, Sabrina,
with an S on it that.
Hey, Sabrina's a guard. Brink is a forward. We could do this, Justin. They could have both been together, man. But hey, shout out to them. But yeah,
and they also have the Caitlin Clark signature shoe is on the way.
Yeah,
by the way, that's ultimately going to happen. All right, throw this out there. Because you said Tyrese Maxey. Is he going to be a superstar?
Yeah.
I want to talk about that with Pounce, and we'll bring you in on that as well. We'll talk about that in the third hour because I'm not so sure. But
So let me.
But regardless, New Balance right now is kind of what Nike was about in 1984, and Cooper Flag might be good enough if he is this all-world guy, even though Nike's got Wemby, so good luck there. But here's my other question. This is what's going to get interesting heading into the future. And mark my words, there shall be lawyers. Brenden, mark my words, there shall be lawyers. Cooper Flag's going to Duke, right? Cooper Flag has a signature shoe. Duke, I believe, wears Nike. I believe Nike pays Duke a lot of money to have them outfitted head to toe in the swoosh. Is there going to be a college basketball player who is big enough, and Cooper Flag might be it, because of the one and done rule, who is going to go to Duke and be like, yeah, but I have a New Balance deal. I wear my New Balances. And Duke's going to be like, now Duke might be able to do it because it's a private school, but there's going to be a court case, mark my words, of a guy going like, no, I've already got a deal.
So this is
because I think all of the Oregon players, they get Nike deals anyways. But could you imagine if, what's his name? Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola was the number 1 recruited quarterback in the country last year, and he's at Nebraska. I believe Nebraska wears Adidas. What happens if Dylan Raiola comes in and goes, no, I've got a Nike NIL deal. I wear Nike cleats. And Adidas is like, well, we're an Adidas school. Well, then we're going to court. How long before that happens? Because that's the first thing I thought of, which I don't know, when I saw that Cooper Flag is going to be going to Duke, which is a Nike school, and he's got his own signature shoe. But he can't play basketball in them for a year.
Well, and here's the interesting thing is just looking at the numbers. So it's probably dipped a little. We've seen Nike take a step back in the last calendar year. But as of 2023, Nike had about 25% of the market. Skechers coming in number 2 at 10%. Jordan brand coming in number 3 at 9%.
Now, this is all shoes, all athletic shoes?
Yes, footwear brands with the largest revenue shares. Under Armour at 9%, Adidas at 7%. So, very much like, again, Justin, and you know what I compare this to? Because you know what else? And I'm surprised. Under Armour would be about 1% without Steph Curry. But here's the reality, Justin. Steph Curry is the greatest basketball player of this generation, I think, as far as his impact on changing the game. Like LeBron, obviously, but just no kid is in their driveway previously saying Kobe and looking away, shooting a shot, and saying LeBron now. Kids are saying Curry, right? They throw it up, crazy shots, all that. Justin, no kid on the planet, maybe a few, but very few, were like, Dad, go get me the Under Armour Steph Currys. See, now I thought they were good because there was a time. They're not the prettiest looking shoes.
They are ugly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
they just are.
So I don't think anyone's going to go buy Cooper Flag shoes, Justin. Maybe a few.
I don't know. Kids wear a lot of ugly stuff nowadays.
Well,
have you seen what the kids are wearing now?
I do.
They wear a lot of ugly stuff.
Well, all the kids have the same hairstyle now too, Justin. So it's like.
And listen, the moment I understand the kids' fashion is the moment I need to maybe take a step back, and I completely understand that. But I'm just saying, I could see where you want to hey, I don't want to go where everybody else is with Nike. I'm going to be the number 1, and Nike's probably not going to give them a signature shoe. I think, and I could have this wrong, I think Paul George might have been the last Nike guy to get Wemby doesn't have a signature shoe. There's no Air Wemby. No, I take it back. Giannis has the Air Freaks, as in Greek freak. Giannis is the last, I believe, Nike signature shoe in basketball. And that's been a while. They don't just hand out signature shoes all that much. I think
technically it was Sabrina. If we want to get
you're right.
If we want to get
you're
real
right.
technical.
I should say NBA. My apologies.
Real technical.
My apologies. But I think Giannis was the last NBA signature shoe.
I don't know the time.
Wemby doesn't have a signature shoe.
I don't know.
Luka has one, but it's with Jordan brand,
so I don't
which is kind of Nike.
I'm going to throw out 2 more names that are on the list. I don't know the timelines. Help me out. Ja has a signature Nike.
Ja might be it. Does he still have them, though, after the throwing a gun at a camera?
Yeah.
Does he still have them? You're right, and Zion?
Devin Booker has a signature shoe. The Air Books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty and then there's, we don't count Jordan Brand, right?
Well, because I think Zion is Jordan Brand. So is Luka, and so is Jason Tatum. So I believe
yes. Chris Paul in there
and Chris
too.
Paul,
Still, Chris Paul.
Russell Westbrook.
Yep, that's it for Nike and Adidas, Nike and Jordan, and I just loop them together because they're all under the same roof.
They try to separate them, though.
They do, but it's like saying, oh gosh, what's a great comparison? That's like saying that what else is like two different companies, but we know they're together. Like, I don't know. I can't think.
Well, okay.
Like it's like
The Gap and Banana Republic and Old Navy, right?
Yeah.
They're all the same, but they're like different stores. But you go to the outlet store and you see them all. You know what I mean?
How fast food's a better example, but like growing up, Justin, there was nothing cooler. And I'm curious your take on this. You might have been a little too late in the process.
Okay.
But when I was growing up, there was nothing cooler than when you would go to towns that weren't around here that had the KFC Taco Bell combo.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, yeah, Yum Brands owns all these, so why not put them all under one roof, man? And it's like, yeah, you could go get your KFC and your Taco Bell, and shout out the one in Seaside, man. I think it's still there, Justin.
Yeah,
that was clutch, man.
The KFC Taco Bell combo.
It was clutch.
You're right, because at a time you're like, I don't even know what I'm seeing right now. Like this... You can't just do this. This is blowing my mind. It is freaking me out.
Mexican food and fried chicken? What?
All in the same place? And you learn that Pepsi just owns all of it.
Just put it all together.
And then you learn a lot about brands going to NCAA tournament games, basketball tournament games, and you really learn the brand that Coca-Cola wants to push, because those are the only cups you're allowed to have. They had like vitamin water one year, and there was like Descent, like nope, only these cups are allowed.
Yeah, I got one more for you, Justin. We don't have them here locally, but there are. I said, when you were young, how much would you crush at this location? They have a couple locations that have. Again, let's just include all the Yum Brands.
Yeah,
Taco Bell,
boom,
KFC,
Pizza Hut, right?
Pizza Hut,
boom,
and AMW all under one roof.
Yeah,
like that would be dangerous, man. Like
all right,
even in my 20s, that would be dangerous.
We've talked about this before. Now, I grew up in a small town. I might have mentioned it once or twice. And other than Abby's Pizza, we had Abby's, we had Taco Time, and we had an A&W, and we had a Dairy Queen. Is A&W, like we talked about, Dairy Queen without the ice cream? I mean, chicken strips are cool and all, but like, if Dairy Queen doesn't have the ice cream, they're going bankrupt, right?
It's so true.
What's A&W without the root beer?
Hanging
it's
on
like
by
a not as good Sonic.
Hanging on with KFC, man. That's how I'd look. I mean,
see, KFC. I mean, it's been a minute since I've had a KFC, but
I can make better fried chicken.
I know that, but like, it's like I can make a better burger than a fast food burger. For sure. It's still fun.
You can make a better burger than Five Guys. I can't make a better burger at home than Five Guys. I can't do it. So,
but you made them though. What was the thing? What made them so great?
You might have a grill that's close to that flat Blackstone type grill. Maybe it was the bun. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't know. It had that secret sauce, Justin, like quite literally that I can't explain. Because I've tried to make burgers at home, and it's not, I mean, they're okay. They're fine. But like, yeah, like that's one of those things where I'm like, I can't make.
Now, I couldn't make it like Five Guys because I am a Traeger guy. And here's the thing, Brenden. When you get to a certain age, which I am at, you have to pick a lane. You're either a Blackstone guy or you're either a Traeger guy. You can't be both. You got to pick one. Are you a Traeger guy? Are you a Blackstone guy?
I don't have either. I'd probably
because you're not of the age yet.
Would you?
We're not to the point where it actually matters.
Do you shame other sides, or is it?
Oh
okay.
yeah.
So if I got a Blackstone, you would.
I mean, that's cool. That's good for you, is what I would say.
Okay.
That's good for you, because I'm going to go ahead and make my burgers on my Traeger. And then the Blackstone people are like, you don't get a sear on the Traeger. It's just an oven. And then I would be like, yeah, but you don't get any flavor on that Blackstone. It's just a griddle. Like, go to a diner. Every one of them has it. I am a Traeger guy. So, yeah, we get a little judgy with one another. It's a real thing.
just from my layman's concept and seeing them, I would, Justin, I'd break your rules, and I would say, because here's the
you
thing.
always like breaking my rules.
Traegers?
There's nothing you like more than when I throw out a couple of, hey, this or that, and you go like, well, I'm just going to go right down the middle.
Traegers are awesome. I think, as far as like smoking. But here's the thing, though, Justin. I have found there is no better home-cooked breakfast than on a Blackstone. When you can do eggs on a Blackstone, bacon on a Blackstone.
Okay, but I can take my cast iron and I can take that out to my Traeger.
Okay, fair enough. But
yes, you're right.
But
you can't do
breakfast, like hash browns on a.
But you can't do a pork butt.
No, I hear.
You can't do a pork butt for 9 hours on a Blackstone. It just burn it.
100%. But that's why I said, like, I very much like.
So breakfast. It sounds like when you get to be,
I'd probably have both.
35, which is about the age, and you get a back deck, you're going to be a Blackstone guy, or whatever's going to be the new thing at that particular point. I went Traeger, and I stick with it, and
to solve that dilemma, I would get the the mini Blackstone for breakfast, and then get a full Traeger.
You got to pick one. No, I do. I know people that actually have both.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know people that actually have both, but
yeah, understood.
It's
understood.
It's kind of a middle-aged dude Cold War,
where
it's like you don't actively like call out your friend who's got the other, but you go, interesting choice there. Because I go.
What do you think would be the better tailgate? Like if you could take, because I know they're
both great. They're both great for tailgating. Now the Traeger,
they both come in travel sizes.
Yeah, and I used to have a tailgate size one.
What happened to it?
It sold it online because I upgraded to the big dog.
You just don't need it anymore.
No, I upgraded, baby, and the amount of pork butt I can smoke, the amount of brisket that I could throw out there. But
did you get it at Home Depot?
It was a Christmas gift from my lovely wife, so I don't know where she got it.
I was going to say, I don't want to know what you bought it for, but know probably.
It was a Christmas gift from my lovely wife. She was like, hey.
She went all out that Christmas.
She's like, here's your upgraded Traeger. And I'm like, you are the best.
That's all-time great Christmas gift from the wife?
She's very good at Christmas gifts. It's
up there, though,
It's up there, though. Yeah. I use it. I used it last night.
Every day for Justin.
4 pounds of chicken thighs I did on the old Traeger last night. Enough to feed me for about 3 days because I eat chicken thighs, lunch and dinner every single day. All right, you got a quick one to wrap it up?
I do, but real quick.
From Cooper Flag to New Balance to Traeger, Blackstone.
Answer me this real quickly.
That's why we're the best show in morning. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. No. That's why we're the best show.
You may have answered this, but I'm just real quick. Why thighs over chicken breasts? Cheaper?
They taste so much better. No, they taste so much better.
Really?
Chicken breast will dry out. You have to really monitor them. Now, I can cook a decent chicken breast.
You're talking in a Traeger cooker format.
It dries out if you don't hit it perfect. And also, some people with the chicken breast freak out a little bit because if you got to hit it to, technically, you're supposed to go to 165, right? You don't got to. You can fudge it, but like to keep it moist and juicy, you got it. There's the margin of error on a chicken breast is and just the chicken thighs taste so much better.
Got you.
It just tastes so much better.
We buy a lot of chicken breasts in our house. I was just curious. Made chicken breast last night. Deep fried them. You know it.
Okay, now that,
tasty.
Dude, try a deep fried chicken thigh.
I think we might have to.
I made a chicken and waffles one time, and I did the whole overnight brine. And then double bread, the chicken thigh, and then I deep fried that in my cast iron Dutch oven. Oh boy!
If I ever merit an invite to the Myers household, I'll request chicken and waffles because that sounds quite.
Wow, that's a pretty big request.
It is.
All right, that's gonna do it for. We're gonna wrap up Make or Miss. We have got. What are we doing? Get Off My Lawn next. 620 Rip City Radio. Well, it is. It's hard to find some grumpiness this week because, well, we got a 3-day weekend on the way. Most of us do. Tip of the cap to those that are actually going to be working on Labor Day. But we got a 3-day weekend staring us down. We got college football on the way. Now, I am not a parent, but I believe a lot of you have put the kids off to school for the summer, feeling pretty good about that. Brenden lives in a neighborhood with a lot of school children. He is very happy that they
haven't come back yet.
Not yet.
Sherwood, I think, is after Labor Day.
Either way, though, it's
coming.
It's coming right down the pike. So it's hard to find some things to be grumpy about, but it's Tuesday, you know. And even on the best weeks, you still find something to get a little bit fired up about, a little bit something to be grumpy about. Even though I am not going to mention what happened to us yesterday morning, there's still more to get off our chest. We embrace that. We embrace that grumpiness and get it out of our system so that we don't hold on to it all day, all week, and just blow up. It is time for you all to get off my lawn. I'm fairly certain I might have mentioned this before, so I might be recycling a get off my lawn, but propane, because it got me triggered. We were talking about grills. Now, I have a Traeger. I'm a Traeger guy, and my Traeger runs off of pellets. Pellets, very easy to find. I go to Costco. I get a bag of pellets. They bring an unbelievable flavor to my Traeger. But on my back patio, which, Brenden, as you know, is where I watch my football in the early months of the fall, in the early weeks of the fall, I have got 2 propane heaters. Because, you know, it gets a little chilly at night. Why is propane so hard to get? Let me throw this out because I have two refillable tanks, and I know some of you might just go to the exchange, right? Well, have you ever tried to go do the propane exchange? It is like you're asking for that store clerk's firstborn child. It is like, well, we got to fill out a form, and I got to get a key. I need a thumbprint authentication. The worst thing you could ever ask, and by the way, to the store clerks, it's not your fault. A tip of the cap to you. You do a job I could not do because you got other things to do. But have you ever gone in and you're like, all right, I have a propane tank. It's empty. I'd like to exchange it. There's a cage out there in front. And they're like, we got to call this guy. We got to call that guy. And then half the time, you go there to exchange propane, and they go, yeah, we don't have any full tanks. We don't have any full tanks. Sorry about that. So that's a bust. So then you go to the local gas station, and again, now that we have self-service, I thought it might free up some employees, some attendants to maybe. But have you ever asked a gas station attendant to help you fill up your propane? Again, it's like asking for their second-born child. And it is the biggest ask in the history of the world. It's like, all I want to do is I have 2 tanks of propane. I would like to have my heaters full of propane ready to throw out there on my backyard TV. I know that a lot of people have propane for their fire pits. I know a lot of people have the propane for their grills. Why is it so hard to refill?
Well, I mean, you think about you have to have the little flathead screwdriver, right? You
got to get the flathead screwdriver.
There's a trick to it.
You got to open up the valve,
and
open up the screw.
Yeah, there's a trick to it. Most of them are not tied into if you could figure out a way to make it quarters or pay for it yourself, but I think it's just too dangerous to have people do it.
Yeah, I don't trust that at all.
Right.
It's a lot of open,
right. So
flammable.
So we were talking about Fentress with the air yesterday, right? So you can't do that. That being said, though, Justin, it could be just a bad group around you.
I think it might be
because I have
because I go to there's one place, and I'm not going to name what it is, but I go there and I'll just do the exchange, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't have. I don't know where the key is, and if I did find the key, they're all empty. So it's so then I'll go to the gas station, and they have a big, giant tank right out in front. It says propane. We fill tanks. You show up. Hey, can I get these tanks? Yeah, we don't have any propane. It's like, well, maybe a sign on top of the we fill tanks to where we are out. So I will go ahead and drive by. I've been to 4 different stops sometimes. It should not be this difficult. Then there's the U-Haul place on Powell where it's I don't know if you know this, but I think some U-Haul places, they also have a big old tank of propane. Can I fill these up, please? Yeah, we're out. It's like,
There's a shell.
when's the truck show up so I can make sure to get right in after?
Yeah, there's two areas in Sherwood that has propane, the Chevron and the Shell. The Shell is on my side of the 99.
Is it the fill-up or is it the exchange?
The fill-up.
The fill-up.
Big, tall tank. And, to your point.
And you show up and they're like, yeah, we're out. It's like, are you, or do you just not want to go do it?
Yeah, I've never been told out, but it's always been like I've walked in, because you have to walk in, and it's like, hey, can I get some help with propane? We'll send someone out there.
We'll send a guy. Hold on,
so
there's a key. I gotta sign a form, and I gotta get a waiver. Do you have 2 forms of identification, please?
But they've never been out for me, Justin. Now, granted, I'm assuming you fill up a lot more than we do. We fill up our grill a couple times in the summer, and maybe not beyond that. But
yeah, I got. Like
you
I said,
got your heaters, so
I got one. Well, one is my fire table. I got the fire pit that runs off and then the other is like the big umbrella heater, And well, it hasn't been like completely necessary. Fall is coming around, you know what I mean? And I'm going to be watching some football in my backyard TV, and there's nothing better than having a little brisk, cool fall breeze, but it's still nice out. Watching a little outdoor football. And you got the fire table going, and you got you got the umbrella heater with just the right amount of like, hey, make it tolerable. But
so would you,
just trying to get that taken care of, because
would you be amenable to starting to get a little crazy, Justin? Because
I don't want to get crazy enough.
From my time when I would go dry camping back in the days, there are 250, 500-gallon propane tanks, Justin, that you would have to fill up maybe every couple months. Especially even how much.
So everything that I've got is made for the 5-gallon. I just wonder if you
could run like a line, kind of like a propane line, to just like a big tank, like that you tuck behind like a.
I'm pretty
behind your fence or something. I don't know. I never
handy.
seen your backyard, nothing. I'm just like, what if he had a giant propane tank and little.
Now I've also seen
lines that ran to his stuff.
If I were to do that, like, I'm just gonna run a gas line off my house.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And
hey, that's not crazy.
I've seen that. Now, again, I am a DIY guy. I do like to do it yourself.
Don't mess with the gas, Justin.
No,
I don't need to hear that you are just not with us anymore and be like, what happened to Justin? Oh, well,
no, yeah, that one is gonna be professional guy comes out, runs the gas line, but I'm not quite there yet. But
if it's not,
I just want to show up and I just wait to come out and fill up my propane, and it takes you like 4 minutes, and then I'll be on my way, and I'll see you in like 3 weeks. But man, just to get, and I get it. It's, if you're at a grocery store or a convenience store, and it's like, I just need you to come out and undo the lock, and I'll just swap them.
I'll
just swap, and because we live where we live, and people like to take stuff that they that don't belong to them.
That's fair.
We got to keep it all under lock and key.
I think you should. Go back home at the dinner table and say, Brenden told me to extend the gas line on the house, so that's what we're gonna do.
I could YouTube how to extend a gas line on the house.
Not that.
No, you don't think I should do it myself? All right.
I enjoy having you live, Justin. So, yes.
Coming up, we have got Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us live in studio for the entire third hour. That is next here on 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brendan Slaughter with you. Idaho transfer Gevani McCoy beats out Ben Gulbranson and Jabari Johnson for Oregon State's starting quarterback job against Idaho State this weekend. Over in the NFL, the Cowboys' CeeDee Lamb agrees to a 4-year, $136 million deal. He is now the second highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL, checking in just behind Justin Jefferson. And former Michigan staffer Connor Stallions tells Netflix and the world he never participated in in-person scouting for the Wolverines. Yeah, right. Coming up on the big show, we're going to talk with Devon Pouncey here momentarily, get his thoughts on a whole bunch of stuff. You got third hour Rip City Mornings on a Tuesday.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us here in a few moments. So we'll get Pounce in here, get his thoughts on Cooper Flagg signing with New Balance. Also get his thoughts on is Tyrese Maxey going to be a bona fide superstar? And I mean, we do talk a ton of hoops when Pounce is in here, but we are definitely going to get his thoughts on the upcoming college football season. Speaking of football, I saw this. So Jerry Jones, maybe you heard of him. He's an American billionaire. He owns the Dallas Cowboys. He is the owner, operator, CEO, and GM of the Dallas Cowboys. And this was in an interview with, I believe, a city-specific website called All Dallas. And old Jerry is he's fired up. And he dropped in a couple of F-bombs. Now, I'm sure there is audio somewhere. We're not going to play it. We haven't found it. I'm going to dance around some of the things that Jerry Jones said. But he said, I've done it all. So I have an ordinate amount of confidence that bleep, F word, if anybody can figure out how to get this S done, I can figure out how to get it done, Jones said. I've been there every which way from Sunday. I have busted my backside, didn't say backside, a bunch. And there's nobody living that's out cutting and shooting that can't give you a bunch of times they've busted their backside. So hell, there's nobody that could bleeping come in here and do all the contracts and be a GM any better than I can. And that's because that's been the knock on, not the knock, but it has been one of the things that has been kind of criticism of Jerry Jones is that, while yes, he's an incredibly successful businessman, but he is really the only owner in the NFL that insists on doing player personnel. Now, realize that Jerry Jones did come from a football background. He played football at the University of Arkansas, albeit back in the 50s, but he did come from a somewhat of a football background. And here's the other thing. While it is not the 90s anymore, all right, it is not the 90s anymore, and the way that the salary cap works and the way that you have to kind of structure deals and situate salaries in kind of the modern NFL, it's a smidge different. That being said, you realize when the Cowboys were dominating back in the 90s and winning 3 Super Bowls back in the 90s, Jerry Jones had his hand in nearly every decision back then as well. So while I do think it is an easy shot to just be like, did you really just say there is nobody that could bleeping do all of the there isn't a better GM that is living that could do a better job than you could? It's an easy thing to criticize, but let's think about this. We talked about the franchise values the other day. And while those numbers are kind of made up, they're based off of certain metrics. And the fact of the matter is, Jerry Jones, I think for $100 million back in the late 80s, early 90s, purchased the Dallas Cowboys. They're a $10 billion entity right now. $10 billion entity right now. Is there any owner in sports who has increased the net worth of their organization more than Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys? No. Also, now that Bill Belichick is no longer employed in the NFL, how many GMs out there have got 3 Super Bowl rings? Now, I realize when Jimmy Johnson was the head coach, he had a ton of personnel decisions. And also the same thing when Barry Switzer was the coach and the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. I think it was 97. Barry Switzer had a good amount of player personnel decisions, just like Mike McCarthy's got player personnel decisions. But Jerry Jones was still the GM when they won 3 Super Bowls. You got a lot of NFL GMs out there that have 3 Super Bowl rings? Nah, I get it. It was the 90s. It was a crazy time. I don't know. I think it's real easy to kind of throw shots at a guy like Jerry Jones. Yet, guy took a $100 million organization in the Cowboys, turned it into $10 billion. A lot of that is what happened with the NFL. A lot of that is what happened with the internet. A lot of that is what happened with TV and everything else. But a lot of that is because there's been no better NFL owner in terms of branding than Jerry Jones. Joining us now. Very excited. Friend of the program.
Yes, sir.
Made it through the door, which I don't know if you heard what happened yesterday, but
no,
that's not always an easy feat. I'll tell you during the break.
Wow.
Very difficult.
Okay.
Devon Pouncey, though, back on the big show. Morning, Pounce. How we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Are you old enough to remember the latter years of the Al Davis Raiders?
Yes.
Yes,
I am.
When Al Davis,
that's the Raiders I grew up on.
When Al started kind of losing it a little bit.
For sure.
Towards the end.
Yes.
Giving PowerPoint presentations about why Lane Kiffin was insubordinate and why he was fired.
I was around.
It's interesting because I don't know if you saw this. So Jerry Jones came out and he said, there's nobody alive that could be a better GM than I could be. Because the knock on Jerry Jones is, yeah, you're an owner, but you need to step aside, bring in a real GM because he's been the GM of the team since he bought it.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons why I think a lot of people want to do that is because of kind of what happened at the end with Al Davis, where he was, if you go back at the history of the NFL, Al Davis, one of the best football guys in the history of the league. Not only built the Raiders, built the league.
It's a fact.
And he was, but then towards the end of it, kind of lost his marbles a little bit.
You age out. It happens. You know what I'm saying? Like Al Davis. Again, that's the Raiders I grew up on, coming up in the Bay Area, especially when we were still in Oakland. My gosh, I miss those days. But, but you age out. I think that's something that is, father time. It's undefeated, man. And sometimes the game evolves, the league evolves. And while you have a great track record, a great history, you're a pillar, you've done a lot for the sport overall, not just the organization. It comes a point in time where you age out a little bit, and it tends to get harder, it seems like, for folks that do have the track record and the success and have had the history and been staples in the game, like somebody like Al Davis or Jerry Jones, that it's hard to just put that ego aside and just, let somebody come in and actually do the particular job of being a GM.
It is interesting, though, because I don't agree with Jerry Jones when he says there's nobody alive that could be a better GM. I was like, I think somebody.
See Kansas City.
But I do think, if there's ever anybody that's earned, they were in the playoffs last year. They have been a relevant franchise for the past 5 seasons. Now, if the only knock is, they haven't won a Super Bowl with him as a GM since 1997, I think there's a lot of GMs in the league that don't have a Super Bowl ring.
For sure.
So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that he came out and was so adamant. I don't know if this is maybe the beginning of Jerry starting to lose his marbles a little bit, or if he's just maybe fighting back, going I've been doing this a while.
Yeah, somebody said, but even again, that's ego stuff. Saying that nobody in the world can be a better GM than you, and it's been a really long time since you've won a Super Bowl. There's other GMs out there that are better than you. I mean, I think that's more of an ego thing and a pride thing. Yes, you've built the biggest brand in football by a long shot. You know what I'm saying? The Dallas Cowboys, it's America's team, but to say that there's nobody out there that can do a better job than me, that's a little different. You could say that, you know what, I feel like I still deserve this job. All the things you mentioned, we've been relevant. We went to the playoffs recently. Like, I'm not a bad GM or the worst GM that needs to just be out of here, but I'm also not the best GM in the world. That's just going a little far.
It is. I mean, I've obviously never been in a position where I could say I'm the best at anything in the world.
Yeah.
But I have a hunch that's like
best Justin Myers in the world. How about that?
There's like a minor league soccer player named Justin Myers. He was. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you see guys like Tiger Woods, like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like Tom Brady. Where like they were the best in the world. Like, obviously, there are a lot more golfers better than Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
If you ask Tiger right now who's the best golfer in the world, he's going to be like, me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just not a title that I think you guys give up easy. And I think it's part of success, but also, like you said,
it's ego-driven.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even if he does say that he can say I'm the best golfer ever of all time, and that's legit. But to say you're the best golfer in the world today, that's ego talk.
I know. Brenden, what do you got?
I'm Brett Veach from Kansas City would like to enter his name into the discussion.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
When you can do things like a week before the season starts, go, yeah, let's add Juju Smith-Schuster to a room. He can be like the fourth best option. I mean, the things that, granted, a lot of it is Patrick.
And also, you get
Patrick Mahomes
when you get
taking
Patrick
less.
Mahomes on your team, you get to become a really good GM.
Well, it helps when he takes less salary for sure.
Yeah,
But just
for
the
sure.
the things that he's accomplished in 7 years as GM, it's incredible.
I want to get this real quick in because you mentioned the old Oakland Coliseum.
Yes.
This is gonna be the last month of the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. September's gonna happen, and the Coliseum is
Bittersweet.
Tearjerker.
So what was, because like I've seen a thing like for baseball stadiums, because it's obviously not only the last of it, but it's one of the last of the multi-use
Yeah.
football, baseball, which thankfully those were always bad.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, it
never
wasn't-
good.
it
But
wasn't
like
great.
it did bring an interesting aspect, which is, baseball stadiums or parks or fields, whatever you want to call it, they usually don't have a lot of tailgating going on.
Yes.
That's a football thing. But Oakland was one of the few because it was that last of the multi-use stadiums where it's got a big giant parking lot.
For sure.
And whether it's Raider games or A games, like there was like the parking lot was kind of the scene.
That's a fact. I mean, I think that's one of the main things that I miss about growing up in the Bay Area. And I tell people all the time, I'm a fan of the Oakland sports team. So went to far more Raider games than Niner games. I mean, my family was like season ticket holders. Mom is still, she was just in Vegas over the weekend, you know what I mean, at the Raider Niner game out there for the preseason game. But, the tailgating aspect of being there, it set a tone that I don't know that any other fan base in dang near American sports was able to set. Like, if you came in there and you were wearing an opposing team's jersey, you were really, really, really uncomfortable, or you were almost like belligerently intoxicated. Like, you had to be wasted. and that probably still wasn't a good idea either, to show up and not be on your P's and Q's, because at any given moment, somebody will get at you for wearing an opposing team's jersey or anything. So, and it's not to say, I mean, yes, it was a hostile environment just because the Raiders are kind of one of those fan bases. But again, being a part of Raider Nation, being a fan of silver and black, being able to go to A's games growing up. I mean, I grew up on the Giambis and Miguel Tejada in those days. You know what I'm saying? Those were like the best days of the Oakland A's when I was growing up. And the energy was kind of the same because it was more of a culture in Oakland in particular when it came to going to the Coliseum, whether it was a concert, a baseball game, a hoop game. Like, you can tailgate for any kind of event that was happening at the Oakland Coliseum. It wasn't just a football-specific thing. And again, I think, with all those things, all those teams, the A's, the Raiders, and the Warriors each sharing a parking lot, like, that just kind of became the norm for the Coliseum in that parking lot.
All right, when we come back, we have got we talked about it a smidge earlier. Cooper Flagg just signed a shoe deal. It's an interesting shoe deal. Am I maybe old and out of touch? We will talk with Pounce. Of course, super producer Brendan's still here. More coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Devon Pouncey joining us live in studio for the entire third hour, as he normally does each and every Tuesday. This is a story Brenden and I were talking about earlier, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it because you know that I do love shoes. I love sneakers. I love basketball shoe, and I'm also I'm loyal to the swoosh.
Yes.
You are you're a free agent.
I'm a free agent.
If it is a good looking shoe and if the price is right, my man Pounce will pounce on it.
And I wear a size 14 shoe. I don't really have the luxury to be loyal to a particular shoe brand or shoe company because I really can't like go to the mall and have a huge selection of shoes to buy anyway. Like I got to legitimately like order shoes or I got to go in and ask, hey, what do you got in a size 14? I can't just be like, oh, do you have such and such shoe? And such, it's likely that they don't. I just ask, tell me all 3 shoes that you have in a size 14 and I'll pick the one I like the most.
At what age did you hit size 14?
Ooh, I mean, I was in high school.
In high school, okay.
Yeah, I was in high school. But
even still.
I started to see the trends when I probably got to like a size 12. And then, you know, but once I got to 13, it's like, all right, it's almost over with. But once I got to a size 14, like I said, it is hard for me to find shoes.
You gotta go to that
in
back
stores.
wall.
You got to go to that back wall. Or it's somewhere that I can't access. And again, I got to ask them, like, just look up in your little tablet or iPad or whatever you have and just let me know what you have in stock. Filter the thing out. What do you have in stock in a size 14? And just bring them all out to me, and I'll pick one.
Now, here's the problem, though, because, like, I'm very lucky and very blessed that I have enough friends that work for Captain Swoosh out in Beaverton.
For sure.
And I don't abuse it, but every once in a while I get to go to that employee store.
Likewise.
Everybody has a size 12 in that employee store.
Yeah.
Just so you like, that is the one place you do have, I think, a bit of an advantage. Is I will walk in there and I will see a nice pair of shoes, and I'll just be like, 10 and a half, 13. I was like,
yeah.
Because I can squeeze into 11 and a half.
For sure.
Maybe an 11 if, like, they are, like, a clutch pair. I can't do 10 and a half. Because I'm size 12. And it's like,
that'll suffocate your feet.
Everybody's got. So you do have a smidge of an advantage there, but I could only imagine when you were in high school going to the Did you go to the Foot Locker?
Foot Locker.
Go to that Foot Locker. Be like, listen, Stripes.
Shoe Palace.
Yeah.
You
got to get in the back and just get. What do you got?
Just what do you got? Filter it out and just know size 14. I'm open to checking them out.
So it was interesting in the shoe world that the big news was that Cooper Flagg, who is going to Duke next year, but is likely going to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the upcoming NBA draft this next summer. So he signed with New Balance.
Yes.
He, outside of Wemby, like Zion, I've said, I think Zion was the biggest NBA prospect coming into the league since LeBron, my personal opinion. Then after that, obviously the intrigue of Wembanyama.
Yeah.
He's a 7'4" French dude that shoots threes.
Right.
And then there's Cooper Flagg that has some intrigue for some reasons. He's from Maine.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
For sure.
He's from Maine.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Justin?
I'm saying he's from.
Are we opening up Ebony and Ivory already?
We getting there.
I'm saying he is from.
Teaser.
I'm just saying there's a lot of people interested in Cooper Flagg and that he is from Maine.
Lots of lobster fishing up there, from what I've heard.
For sure.
He signed himself a deal because NIL, you can sign your own deals now and you can still go to college.
Yes.
He goes New Balance. Now, I would imagine if you were going to be a big, giant basketball prospect, you might want to sign with the company that is, I don't know, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Wembanyama, Zion, Kevin Durant. But I also heard, because I was listening, there's a lot of sneaker news stuff out there that I listen to because I'm a freak.
Yeah.
That essentially back in 1984, like Nike was what New Balance is now. Like they were an upstart, known for something else, right? They were known for running, not really known for basketball. New Balance, known for dads, Let's just say,
yeah, for sure.
comfortable walking shoes.
Definitely.
And then they're getting to the basketball space, and they got Kawhi Leonard is a New Balance, and who was it? Cameron Brink.
Cameron Brink was a solid pull. I said,
Cameron
I don't know
Brink's
how
a New Balance.
the swoosh let her go.
And so now Cooper Flag.
She's from right around the way.
I know.
Beaverton, yeah.
So now you got Cooper Flag going New Balance. Now maybe this is just what the kids are into. I don't know. It was an interesting decision.
I think NIL changes the game for everything because I think it comes to a point now where that primarily the bigger stars that are in the NBA will likely sign with like a Nike or Adidas. But to be able to capitalize on your star power in college, you might go to somebody like a New Balance. And so I think it's actually smart. I mean, you see even on the women's side, like Angel Reese is with the Reebok. You know what I'm saying? Like you're seeing these shoes that are realizing like, hey, we're not going to be able to compete potentially with Nike and, Steph went to Under Armour, for example. We're probably not going to be able to compete with Nike and Adidas once these people like reach the full potential of what their star power will ultimately become. And that's when you kind of start to play a different game. But I think now in these NIL days and being able to say, hey, you can get NIL money now to be able to sign with New Balance, it's much high. The likelihood of you being able to get your own signature shoe or something to that magnitude increases pretty drastically. And so I think it's one of those things where, the New Balances of the world are trying to compete in a different way, and they're using NIL as leverage to be able to do so. And I think it's a smart move to be able to compete knowing that, your brand isn't quite Nike when it comes to the sport of basketball in particular. I like the move from New Balance for sure. And I like the move from the athletes going and being willing to bet on themselves and say, hey, I'd rather have a shoe deal than have to go average 30 in the NBA before I even get considered for one. Just take it in Nike. Take it in college.
There is going to be something, and I'm wondering how long before it happens. And it might happen with Cooper Flag, but I don't know if it will. When you go and you play college basketball, I think even at the level you played, the school has a deal with a certain shoe company, and those are the shoes you wear.
Yeah, we were in Nike school. We still are.
You were Nike school. There's Adidas schools, but those are the shoes you wear. Duke is a Nike school.
Yes.
So Cooper Flag's not going to be able to wear his signature shoe while playing college basketball. I wonder how long before we see somebody challenge that. Because I think it's coming down the pike.
I do too.
As somebody, now maybe Cooper Flag doesn't want to ruffle the feathers at Duke, but there's going to be some big-time prospect who's going to sign and maybe wants to go to like USC, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm an LA kid who's a sophomore right now, wants to go to USC, but he signs a Puma deal. Like Scoot's Puma, right?
Yes.
I think he signs Puma. He signs like a Puma deal, and he goes, yeah, USC, I wear my shoes.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're a Nike school. And he goes like, no, I'm wearing my shoes. And then it's going to go to court.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening someday, particularly if you're somebody that like, okay, let's take Bronny, for example. And I know this is a bit extreme because his namesake is Bronny. Bronny obviously has a massive platform as a basketball player.
Yes.
He's been able to carve out his own career. He's the son of what many people consider to be the greatest basketball player of all time.
Some people, yeah.
But there's an entirely different community that maybe some of us that are more in touch with Bronny because of basketball aren't in touch with, which is like the gaming community, for example.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll start to see is the more leverage that these younger athletes, particularly these athletes that are in college, get, not only just from basketball, but realizing, hey, I can transform my platform into becoming a gamer or an influencer or whatever it is that I have interest in, that I can go connect with said brand and really grow my brand in my own like individual way. I think that's when you'll start to see once it becomes a competition between the school and the platform, the individual platform, and guys have to start picking and choosing like, hey, I can rock these shoes in the game, and I know that I got 1 million plus folks that follow me on Twitch or whatever. I might be willing to take that risk because I know what I'm going to bring in from my Twitch followers that I may not bring in from my basketball followers. And so I think that's what's going to make it tricky. is kind of influencer culture, if you
Yeah.
will. And somebody is going to challenge, their university or their school, or they just won't go.
But it is interesting because that's something that I think Oregon does have an advantage with, which is you go to Oregon, you have success, you're a Nike athlete. Like
Yes.
it's going to happen.
For sure.
And no, I don't think of all the schools that like it wouldn't work. Like I think you could go to like UCLA, I think is Jordan Brand.
Yeah.
And if you signed a deal with Under Armour, you could probably challenge it. You could probably. I think Oregon might fight that one tooth and nail.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
But it is interesting, kind of the advantage that Oregon had and kind of still has, which is hey, beyond. But like Bronny was, I think Oregon was in his top three. Because like, look, you come here. Dad's a Nike athlete.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a Nike athlete. You're going to be doing, Nikes. Sabrina has got her signature shoe because A, she's an incredible basketball talent, but B, is her connections to the University of Oregon. I don't know if she has a signature shoe if she went to UW.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The other thing that popped up because we were talking,
especially when you look at how long it took for Asia Wilson to get a signature shoe. Like, I mean, that's the greatest player in the league. And she had a harder time releasing a signature shoe than Sabrina did. So I tend to agree with that.
Did she get a Nike shoe?
She's Nike.
She's
yeah.
Nike now?
Yeah. And so they finally, I think once Caitlin's shoe deal got announced, I think they had to kind of expedite the rollout for Asia's shoe because things got a little bit tricky on the social front.
The other thing that we were talking about, Devon Pouncey is joining us here live in studio because Brenden was going through the New Balance basketball. So Tyrese Maxey is New Balance.
Interesting.
And Brenden said he's probably on the way to being a big time star in the NBA. And I was like, really? Because I don't get it.
Yeah.
But when you look at like who are like, I would put Halliburton in there. I would put Maxey in there. Ja is gonna come back. But who? Anthony Edwards kind of had his moment this season where he kind of popped, and I'm just wondering, like, is Tyrese Maxey gonna be that next guy?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I was.
That's not Wemby, obviously, because he's in his own.
No, I was at where was I? I was getting my hair cut the other day, and I ran into one of the remix assistant coaches. Shout out LaRon Black, and we were talking about the 2020 class. Halliburton is a part of the 2020 class. LaMelo Ball was a part of the 2020 class. Tyrese Maxey was a part of the 2020 class. Like, it was a lot of good guards that came out of that class. Obviously, Anthony Edwards was the number 1 overall. Wiseman was number 2, and then it was LaMelo Ball. But, yeah, I think that class in particular on the guard front, they do kind of have some pretty significant star power, you know what I mean, that looks to be up next and kind of that next wave of star guards in the NBA. And so, yeah, I mean, those dudes, Maxey is legit. Like, Maxey will be an all-star in no time, you know what I mean? Like, Halliburton had a breakout year, was able to be an Olympian. And again, those dudes are still, like, really, really young. They're all under 25 years old. So they've got a lot of time to continue to grow and become better in the league, and they're not even in their prime years.
I may have asked you this before, but we got about 4 minutes, and then we're going to get to Ebony and Ivory, which I'm very excited about. What's your favorite pair of shoes to play in? Favorite pair of shoes to play in?
I like to wear heavier shoes. I think the LeBron Soldiers might have been my favorite pair of shoes to play in. I tried to rock KDs. They were too light for me. I was one of those guys that I was in the trenches a little bit, so it takes nothing to step on somebody's foot, roll an ankle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's quite easy to do that. So I needed a heavier shoe. But I would say the LeBron Soldiers were probably my favorite shoes to play in.
I played 2 seasons in high school. Grant Hill Fila's. Love them. Love them.
You taking it back.
Them. It was because there was a time and again it was 96, 97. So the Jordan 11s had just come out.
Yeah.
And nobody wore those to hoop in.
Right.
Everybody wore them to prom.
Yeah.
Nobody,
right.
nobody wore the Jordan 11s to hoop in. And so And it was also kind of a thing back then where we didn't have team issued shoes. It was high school.
Right.
And like, I don't know, you know me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have shoes that nobody else had.
Yeah.
I wanted to have the ones that nobody else
That's a
had.
fact.
So I went with the Grant Hill Fila's, and nobody else had those.
Nobody. I bet.
But they were awesome. I still stand by those. If I could find a pair of 97 Grant Hill Fila's, those might be the only things to get me off the swoosh.
I mean, man, maybe he can get a rebrand. He's out here running Team USA and all the things. So we got to get a re-release, from Grant Hill one of these days.
Brenden, you played tennis. Did you wear like the Nadals or the Federers?
It's Nikes, man.
Just regular.
Yeah.
Nike. You didn't know you didn't go with like the Roger Federers?
No. Like how rich do you think I was as a kid, Justin?
I don't know.
But Roger Federer shoes, man, those are probably spendy.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was. I've worn Nikes forever, man.
I do have a pair of the Kevin Durant's. They are light, but they are nice.
They were comfortable,
They are nice.
but they were too light for me. I was rolling my ankles and all
And
kind of stuff.
It's the toughest thing I have to concede because I love Air Jordans. Always will put those on a pedestal, but as much as I complain about LeBron, he has some comfortable shoes.
He's got some comfortable shoes.
I got four pair of LeBrons. I got like some LeBron 13s. I think I've got some 12s. They are comfortable.
He got some comfortable shoes, and like I said, for me in particular, they were heavier. Again, I got these size 14s over here that I'm moving around, and so I needed a heavier shoe. I had a time where like I was big on the pro models.
Yeah,
pro models were like the hit shoe from Adidas, especially like after Kobe left Adidas and went to Nike, and Adidas was just trying to hang on. Those pro models were a hit, like for my era coming up for sure. So I had a wave of wearing pro models.
That's what LeBron wore in high school.
Yeah, I'm saying those were like big time shoes.
Everybody thought that, well, he wore all those, like Adidas put a lot of money into St. Vincent St. Mary's.
Yes, they did.
In Akron because they're like, well, LeBron is gonna, and then the story goes that like when they went to show up for the pitch, LeBron was assured by I think it was Sonny Vaccaro, who said, $100 million, Adidas, a done deal. And Adidas showed up and shorted him, and they said $90 million.
Yeah.
And LeBron goes, all right, I'm a Nike guy now.
Nike, yeah.
Second best-selling sneaker athlete of all time.
That's right.
All right, coming up next, we've got the RCM Mailbag special Ebony and Ivory version to wrap up the big show on a Tuesday with our good friend Devon Pouncey from the Rip City Remix here on Rip City Radio 620. All right, time to wrap up the big show. Devon Pouncey from the Wake Up and Win podcast from the Rip City Remix and friend of the program, sticking around, joining us live in studio. Before we get to our Ebony and Ivory version of the mailbag, Oregon State will start a multi-year series next season in basketball, Brenden. Return game in Eugene in 2025-2026, but Oregon State will be playing in Corvallis just one time next year. So that's from John Rothstein. I think he's CBS Sports, big college football guy. The Beavs and the Ducks continuing the Civil War into basketball season this year. So
Yeah.
that's not dead yet either.
Yeah, you're talking to someone who didn't care to see the series continue, so it's like, yeah, cool, I guess.
Cool, buddy. All right. Speaking of cool, it is time for Ebony and Ivory. For those of you that are maybe new to the show, years ago when Devon and I had our own show, we had a segment called Ebony and Ivory. We have different cultures, different backgrounds that we grew up with. We are curious about one another, but sometimes people might get hesitant. Some people might get a little bit nervous asking some of these questions. We don't, because we are friends, and we know that this is a safe place. So it is time to learn and grow and have a fun time while we do it. Let's get to Ebony and Ivory. All right, so earlier in the show today, I was talking to Brenden that at a certain age, middle-aged dudes like myself pick either Traeger or Blackstone.
Got it.
And you just can't. And some people have both. Some people have neither. But most dudes fall into the category of you are either a Traeger guy or you are a Blackstone guy. And now I know that your world and your culture, boy, you love grilling.
Yeah, for sure.
And boy, do I love. Black people cookout is the best.
It is.
I've been to a handful.
It's pretty good.
It is the best.
It's pretty good.
But I'm wondering, is there a Traeger Blackstone type of rivalry in terms of maybe like charcoal, propane, or in the world of black grilling culture?
No, I don't think as much as it is in the white grilling culture. I know a lot of like my white friends are like huge on Traeger. Like Traeger is
that's
me.
me.
There you go.
That's me. I am one.
I think for us,
I might be on a Facebook group.
Yeah. I think for us, you put any grill out, it could be charcoal, it could be propane, whatever the case may be, and we ready to get to it. I think it's more so about how you season your food than it is about the kind of grill that you use.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the key that gets missed out on a lot of the times is making it too much about these brands rather than making about season this food good and it should make do for you, and that's why our cookouts tend to be a hit because the actual food is good and we're not making a big deal about the brand.
How's your grill game?
It's all right.
All right.
It's all right.
Like if you were to be like, hey, Myers, you're coming over, I'm making this. What would be your?
I mean, I love ribs.
Yeah,
Ribs
are hard.
They're hard. I love chicken. It's funny though because what I love the most, I can do some good chicken. I can do some ribs too. I need to get my brisket game up though because that's actually what I like the most. And I've never grilled a brisket before.
I've Traegered 2 briskets. Turned out okay.
Okay.
Didn't completely massacre them. But it's hard.
Yeah,
it's a tough.
I've never even attempted it. I've done ribs pretty good. I've done chicken pretty good. I've never even attempted brisket, and that's like my favorite cut of meat.
I've got a really good barbecue chicken.
Okay.
Really good barbecue chicken.
Yeah.
Which I think you would appreciate because I do not skimp on the spices.
Yeah.
Your boy has learned a thing or two.
That's right.
But pulled pork is my specialty.
Okay.
You get that.
Interesting.
You get that pulled pork, throw it on there for about 8 hours.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let that thing slow burn.
Just let it sit. Plus with the Traeger, as usual. You just hit a button.
Yeah, it's pretty. That part makes sense. Okay, so for you, I actually had a moment last week, and this is not the first of these kinds of moments, but I went to the bowling alley. Shout out to my brother, was celebrating his birthday, and there's a couple. It was 2 like white couples that were bowling in the lane next to us, but we all black guys that are bowling, and like I showed up late, and so the guy it was an awkward greeting where like the dude like legitimately came up to me, shook my hand, and just called me out of my name. And called me the B word, to be particular. It's a white guy, pretty. And so I kind of I made it awkward and made it uncomfortable for him. And so he immediately like, no, man, I did that to every person, to all your friends that are here. Like I came up to them and I like called them out of their name. Have you ever had, obviously not to that extent because he was way out of line, but like, have you ever had like an awkward interaction with maybe a black guy where you thought you were trying to make light of a situation or trying to like be joking, and then the guy kind of like shut it down?
I'm sure I have. I'm sure
Can
I
you
have.
think of one?
He
I
might
guess.
remember more than I remember because
Yeah.
I think I was being
Liquid courage.
funny. Yes.
Yeah,
I was
liquid
probably
courage.
Really a little booze.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I have. I know for a fact that like because this is the great conundrum.
Yes.
Handshake or the dap. I
Got
see
it.
you. We're gonna dap it up.
Right.
That like we have that relationship.
Right.
But most other people that I am meeting for the first time, firm handshake.
Right.
Look you in the eye, firm handshake.
For sure.
But I don't want to do the Key and Peele, which is white guy handshake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the probably the most awkward.
Right. The
It
handshake,
would be the handshake versus the dap. And when
Right.
do you go? And then if you half dap it, that's bad.
That's bad. Yeah.
It
Nah,
is not good.
And like I said, I asked it again. Dude, he went way too far and definitely had to make him feel pretty awkward in the moment. And then he tried to like clean it up or whatever.
Mhm.
But I think even beyond that, like especially living in Oregon, where it's like
In a bowling alley,
a
yeah.
lot of people, no, even just beyond a bowling alley, just living in this state and just the more you move around and the more places that you go, especially like outside of Portland, and like you run into white people in spaces where black people hardly are ever there. Like I've had a lot of awkward moments living in this state where people attempted to have like an icebreaker moment, but they couldn't like help themselves. The reason they wanted to have the icebreaker moment because it was such a rare instance that they actually like had black people in that area. I mean, I went to school in Forest Grove, so I've had plenty of icebreaker moments being out that way, more so in the sticks where it's like, oh man, like, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it happens more often than not. I don't think people realize that as much, especially the more you leave out of the city where it's probably most diverse in this state.
I think there's because again, I grew up in a very small town with not an awful lot of minorities, and yet I lived the MTV world.
Yeah.
Where, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg were on my playlist or my Walkman and then soon to be Discman. And I think maybe
A Walkman, you said.
dude, I'm that old.
No, I know. I just had to
I am
had to throw it out there.
I am Walkman old. All right. I got for my birthday a Walkman with the cassette of DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince's Home Base, which had Summertime on it as a birthday gift. That's how old your boy is. But I think you have you consume enough hip hop culture where you're like, this is gonna be hilarious,
right?
Not so funny.
Not so funny.
I don't know you like that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I don't know
exactly.
you and I, luckily,
for sure,
we know each other like that.
That's why
I'd
we do
also
this
would never
segment.
call you.
Yeah, it was
word
wild.
ever.
It was wild, but again, it was more of an awkward trying to break the ice moment, and it just did not land.
I've had that happen before.
For sure.
Not just with other cultures, just in general.
Yes.
All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Devon Pouncey from the Rip City Remix. You need to be subscribed to the Wake Up and Win podcast. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday. We're back at it tomorrow morning, 6:20, Rip City Radio.